Susan wants to know if you think the film LA Confidential is a good reflection of early Hollywood corruption and debauchery.
Oh yeah, I love LA Confidential. In fact, that's one of my favorite neo-noir films. We did a podcast on that a few years ago. You do get some interesting insights into, because that film is about, the police being corrupt, kind of working with drug prostitution rings, Hollywood being involved. So yeah, it's a great insight into exactly what we're talking about today, that Hollywood's really never been any different. Music industry is the same way. Never been any different. Absolutely.
What do you make of all these drone videos that are coming out over America?
I think it's some kind of deep state psyop. I don't exactly know what the point is. It might be to undermine Trump. It might be to, it might be to lay the groundwork to say that we're being drone attacked by Iran or Russia, to then have a false justification for war, troops on the ground in Iran, troops, American troops in the Ukraine. I mean, it could be a justification for that. But I don't believe that there's anything alien involved in it. I'm a big supporter of the thesis that the alien stuff is a giant psyop. If you just watch a documentary like Mirage Man, it's really good for that.
Is there any drones over your state?
No, not so far. I mean, all I've heard about so far is Colorado, California, New Jersey. But it seems to be kind of like every day there's like a new story of drones, these crazy drones popping up. So maybe in the next couple of days, or maybe today we'll get one. I don't know.
Speaking of the skies, Shrine is asking for your thoughts on flight MH17.
Malaysian,
Malaysian
I remember the Malaysian stuff. I remember following that at the time. I don't have anything conclusive on it. I don't believe it was like mystical warp technology that made it warp to some other place. I don't know what it is.
Becky, I've heard a lot of stars that are of the dark. What about Keanu Reeves? He seems light, but Johnny Depp seems dark.
It does seem like, Keanu's energy is a positive, nice guy, at least as far as I can tell. I don't know anything about him, but I know that Johnny Depp at one time did state that he was involved in the occult explicitly. He did say about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, he said that he was involved in chaos magic, which is a real thing. It's a real magic tradition. So, maybe he learned the hard way that's not a good practice. I don't know. But yeah, I think usually you can kind of get a good sense of people. And sometimes people can be super psychopathic and fool you, and they seem really nice, but they're like the most dastardly people. That happens sometimes, but probably that thesis is right.
So is Tom Cruise involved at the top level? He's involved at the top level of Scientology, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Tom Cruise is one of these people that we're talking about, like, that seems to be kind of at a high, like, I don't know, I can't prove, this is my opinion. People like Ben Affleck, people like Matt Damon, George Clooney, they have a history of explicitly working with the CIA in a very open way, and perhaps even being CIA themselves. In fact, I always play that it's either Guardian or Telegraph interview from 10 years ago where Ben Affleck literally says, you can do the interview still on YouTube, you can pull it up. He says, look, Hollywood and the CIA are flip sides of the same coin. A bunch of people in Hollywood work for the CIA and vice versa. And if you go, if you go to the CIA page on Instagram and you look at who follows it, it's literally all the people that you would think, like, that are in CIA TV shows. So it's Claire Danes and it's like Tom Cruise, or I can't remember if Tom Cruise is on there, but point being, I would not be surprised if there isn't like a, Tom Cruise working with CIA type stuff.
Gemini's asking whether you ever get threats on your life for speaking out.
I think everybody who gets to a certain level of, like, if you're over 100,000 on YouTube or something, you're going to eventually start getting people saying crazy stuff and, threatening you. And so I've had some like comments that, I'm gonna come kill you or something like that, but nothing's ever happened. I live in two states where you can always have a gun very easily, and I always do have a gun, so I'm not too worried about that. But no, I mean, the type of research that I do usually just deals with stuff that's already in the public domain. So I don't ever have like, I'm going to drop the secret information that's going to, bring down Bill Clinton in 2 weeks, which that's like the best way to I mean, they're going to kill you in the next 2 weeks. It's really stupid. So no, I don't ever work with anything that's not, in the public domain. So not really.
Do you think the Hollywood sign will get knocked down like the Berlin Wall?
Maybe if California and Los Angeles continue with their socialist policies, they won't even have to knock it down. Everything will just degrade and it'll fall down because, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but we were in LA maybe 8 months ago. And I mean, it's looking rough. I mean, there's still some nice areas, but I just think that when your cities turn super blue socialist and they're run by these just insane Democrat leaders, I'm not saying the GOP is that much better, but the Democrats just seem to be really good at like wrecking stuff. So I wouldn't give LA much longer before it just collapses. Maybe 10, 15 years.
Is this the end of MK Ultra and deep state control?
No, I don't think it's the end. I think they're going to definitely pull every trick out of the hat that they can. I mean, I don't know how this drone stuff relates to it, but I sense that this is the next thing. I don't know where it's going, but I think that's another trick they're going to pull. They might try to pull another PAN demic. No, they're not going away. MK Ultra, it never ended, even when they had the hearings. They just renamed it MK Search and MK Delta, and they went into other areas. So those became research into brain chips and biometrics and biological warfare. So all they had to do was rename it and then classify it as national security. So no, it's never going away.
Georgina, what does Jay think is the solution? How do we radically overhaul this endemic perversion?
I do think that the information continuing to get out is damaging them. I mean, even when I first came on your podcast a few years ago, Sean, like I wouldn't have expected things to go where they have gone. So a lot of positives have been happening. And we were talking 4 or 5 years ago, like we got to get the word out, this kind of stuff. And even I was kind of skeptical whether we would actually be able to get the word out. But it does seem like, whatever you think of Elon and Twitter, like it does seem like a lot of good information is getting out. It's not perfect. It's not everything that we'd like to see getting out, but it's, Twitter is becoming the main hub of where people get information out now, in terms of the news format, not so much video. Video is still YouTube, but I think there's positives, and I think that as long as we keep pushing this stuff out, like people are figuring it out. Maybe not quick enough as we'd like, but do you agree? What do you think? You've seen, your channel's you're almost at 1 million now, man. That's great.
I see AJ getting up to 10 million in his lives on X. I've never seen anyone get that many on lives.
Yeah, we had a fourth hour about a month ago that I did the fourth hour, and that I was happy because that was the stream where Alex got 32 million. So my fourth hour got seen about 32 million on that stream. So yeah,
you guys have got to be setting world records over there.
Well, more so Alex. It's not me, but yeah, Alex is.
Do you think Amber Heard is involved in this craziness? It feels like she is.
Yeah, my tendency, I don't have any proof, but my tendency is to think that a lot of the girls in pop music in Hollywood, they're kind of shuffled over into the witchcraft path, right? So the guys are, I guess they're put into Crowley butt rituals, and then girls are shuffled over into witchcraft, and that's not far-fetched. I mean, we've seen a lot of high-level Hollywood women and music industry women talk about being into witchcraft. In fact, some years back, Katy Perry talked about being inducted into witchcraft maybe 5 years ago. She did a whole Instagram post about it. I would not be surprised if Amber Heard wasn't introduced into some circles of Wicca and witchcraft through Hollywood and the elite of Hollywood, the women elite. And what's her name? Hermione from Harry Potter. I forget her name. Emma Watson, is that her name?
Can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about? Hermione from Harry Potter. She's a famous British
Yeah.
actress. I forget her name. Emma whatever. Emma Watson. She was also inducted into witchcraft, according to her public Instagram posts, maybe 2 years ago. So I think that's what's going on with a lot of Hollywood women. I wouldn't be surprised if Amber Heard's not a witch.
Gene is asking, does Jay believe soccer viewers and people in stadiums can get MK altered? Doesn't this go back to ancient Rome? We'll give them games to watch and hypnotize them.
They're probably talking about, yeah, like when we see the sportscasters and they like glitch out or whatever. I don't know what that is. I mean, a lot of people in media and entertainment take pills, and so they could be like, pilled out. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we don't know what kind of signals and ELF, VLF they're using. They do have, even in the 1970s, Brzezinski wrote in his book, Between Two Ages, that ELF, VLF signals can be used to agitate large masses of people, including entire nations and continents. So maybe, but I think more so, rather than the really sensationalist stuff, just bread and circuses itself is kind of distraction and mind control.
Was Hollywood designed with the idea in mind to team up with politicians and the government?
Yeah. And that's why some of the first stuff that was recorded on cameras was propaganda. And so, I mean, I don't mean the first actual videos of the train or the man running or whatever, the most famous first foot, but like when it became a technology, you had Germany immediately leaped on it. You had the US immediately leaped on it. Immediately in Russia, you had people doing propaganda. So the military especially immediately saw the propaganda effects of film, and they jumped on it right away. So absolutely.
A few people in the chat are asking, in your studies of the occult, etc., have you ever come across the use of tunnels?
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I can think of, so the Hellfire Club, they would famously meet in areas of London underground, and they felt like, I'm guessing that for one, it was just a way to be secret, but perhaps there was also an association with the underworld being in tunnels and so forth. The McMartin preschool case, when the FBI declassified that, they admitted that there were tunnels underneath the preschool, so that lends credence to the theory of Ted Gunderson. So yeah, there could be an occult connection. There could be a human trafficking connection. And you can look up old Rand Corporation papers where they did talk about in the 1960s or 70s how to build vast underground tunnel networks in the US. Whether they actually did that on a large scale and where, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, so we got, is there a hierarchy of black magic in Hollywood?
Probably. I don't know who the top of it would be, but there are many famous producers and directors that do talk about being into Kabbalah very heavily. They do talk about being into ritual magic. They make movies about it. Just a couple examples. I don't know. Again, I don't know if these people are at the top, but Darren Aronofsky, many of his movies are about Kabbalah. So I would imagine he's into Kabbalah. Very famous director, made a lot of really big films. James Franco reenacted a entire Crowley ritual about 5 or 6 years ago. So he's probably interested in that to some degree, or part of it. If you read a book like Blood on the Altar, Chaim Bickner goes through a lot of Hollywood people who were involved in the OTO back in the day. So yeah, I don't know who's running it. I don't know who the Queen Witch is, but maybe Madonna. Madonna's like, long time high level Kabbalist. She's probably a high level witch.